Welcome in, everyone. Hello. Hello, hello. Welcome to day 4 of debut week, the debut of this PNGTuber that you see before you. I would like to say, shout out to Sarah Undead. His VGen is linked in the pinned message up at top of the chat. Hopefully, you guys see it. Give him some love. And, he did a great job on this. I mean, check this out. If I go into the thing and I mute, then that happens. And if I deafen, I'm just a sleepy little guy. Anyways, it's Anything Can Happen Thursday. Even if the rest of the events that I did for the schedule this week for debut week don't survive, and Minecraft Monday is definitely surviving. I mean, I'm a Minecraft VTuber, as in my character design is entirely Minecraft based. Tuesday Newsday is up in the air. I might not do it every week, but every so often. The news has to be good for me to do Tuesday Newsday. Retro Wednesday. Wednesday might be a flex day. Well, no, because that's what Thursday is. Thursday is designed as the ultimate flex day. Retro Wednesday, probably going to stick around. It depends on how long it takes me to run out of retro games to play, I guess. There's only so much I can do with older games. There's only so many older games that I have, even. What else? It's Anything Can Happen Thursday. So, what's gonna happen today? Well, first, do the mouse. We got 3 wheels. Only the middle wheel matters. Tomorrow is Fanfiction Friday, though, so here's a sneak peek at the Fanfiction Friday wheel. Also, you might notice Fanfiction is on the Anything Can Happen Thursday wheel. If it lands on that, then we spin this wheel. And this is a wheel of my friends. Some of them are streamers, some of them make videos, some of them appear in streams, others I'm not so sure. Anyways, one of the options here is to try and get someone else to stream with us, to do a collab stream. And so I've taken the list of people and put them in their own wheel. If it lands on the pink one here, then we spin the wheel on the right. If it lands on the blue one here, we spin the wheel on the left. And on Friday, we spin the wheel on the left anyways. But enough stalling. I've explained Anything Can Happen Thursday. You see the wheel that is in front of us. There's also a tiny little spot that if we land on it, we just spin again. And if we land on the other tiny slot, well, then I'll tell you what that one is. If that happens. But without further ado, let's spin it to win it. Minecraft mod development. Okay. Well then, I think we know what we're doing. Go ahead and minimize this and open up the mod dev software. In case you guys weren't here for Monday, which was Minecraft Mod Dev Monday, we, well, we worked on the mod. Is this opening? Is it opening? I hope it's opening. Yep, here it is. All right, M Creator is opening. All righty. I think I'm double clicking. There we go. Now it's opening. All right, more stone tool. We're working on it. There we go. And we got the stone types up again. So here we are. We finished the main scope. Now it's time for the extra 3. Red sandstone is the first one. Oh, hang on. Let me start the 1 hour timer. Every hour, we're going to go back to the wheel. And spin again. Because anything can happen Thursday. So anything can happen, not just one thing. After all, it'd be kind of boring if we just spun once. And hey, if you guys think an hour is too long, feel free to drop some channel points for the channel point reward. What is it? Spin the wheel. 2,000 golden apples, and we spin the wheel again. All right. Now, the 1 hour timer has started. And based on my calculations from doing calcite, basalt, and endstone, and the length of that stream, aside from the belly aching that I was doing, because making a Minecraft mod is difficult, it took roughly an hour for each thing. So we should be able to finish red sandstone before we go back to the wheel, unless somebody pays some channel points. Let's first, before we actually go into the thing, we want to go into we want to tap tools and then create texture. There we go. Creating texture. Generate from a template. We want a sword. Randomize it. Unlock the saturation and brightness. And we want to go to HSV. Okay. And we're going to go That looks pretty good. CD523F. We're going to copy this. Control C. Now if I here, Control V. There we go. That is the color for red sandstone. Now I'm going to be 100% certain that every single tool is the exact same color. By copying this now, instead of waiting until later, create and merge, save this texture, red sandstone sword, item, save this texture. Create texture, generate from template, pickaxe, oh, come on, how do I watches? Aha, here we go. I think this is what I want. CD 523F. There we go. That's what we want. Okay. And it's the same color. CD523F. Perfect. Create and merge. File. Oh, not file. Save this texture. Red sandstone pickaxe. Item. Save texture. And now we do that 3 more times, and then we're done with the textures for the red sandstone tool. Generate from template. Axe. Randomize. CD 523F. And we say okay. And there we go. Hopefully it's not too similar to quartz. Create and merge. Save this texture. Red sandstone axe. And there we go. And we're going to say save this texture. And now we're going to create another texture. And we will be making it this one a shovel. Randomize. We're going to change this to just the tool-based stick because I don't like the flared out bottom part, because I'm pretty sure no other shovels in vanilla have that bottom part. You're a bit too pink, so let's change you to CD523F. There we go. And we say okay, better, create merge, save this texture. I'm going to finish all this. I'm going to compare, and it's going to look near identical to granite, and I'm going to start over. I feel like that's how my luck is going to end up going. Red sandstone shovel. We save this texture. You know what? Just so I don't waste. Well, hang on. I've already made 4 out of 5 tools. I might as well make the hoe. Tools, create texture, create, generate from template, the hoe, randomize. It's actually kind of wild that all 3 of them got the exact same color. CD523F. Say OK. Create and merge. Say this texture, red sandstone. Oh. As an item, save as texture. That's the fastest I've made textures. Now, we're going to go back to the workspace, resources. No. Hold on. Look at this. Red sandstone is actually right next to granite. We can directly compare them. Red sandstone is way more red than granite. Perfect. It's a clear visual difference. Perfect. We actually love this. We love this a lot. And if you pay close attention, you can see the difference between end stone and sandstone. So this is actually pretty good. Hopefully Blackstone doesn't use a full black sword in case, we revisit the obsidian. Anyways, there we go. We got the red sandstone textures ready. Now let's make the tools. Actually, well, no, we have to make the tool before we can make the recipe because the recipe can't be empty. Okay, let's go to tool. We call it the red sandstone axe. Create new tool. Red sandstone axe. Perfect. Properties of an axe. In the More Stone Tools tab, it is of stone tier with 131 durability. That's too much. All right, let's actually pull the cheat sheet down so that it's directly in front of me again. 4 and 5 are always at the top. Alrighty. And so with the axe, we have 9 damage. And an attack speed of 0.8. Repair items being red sandstone. Maybe keep open. And the red sandstone axe. There we go. Save mod element. And the red sandstone axe is done. Hell yeah. Now we go to tool. Red sandstone pickaxe. Create new tool. The red sandstone pickaxe. Properties, it's pickaxe. Stone type. For the pick, it's 3 damage, 1.2 speed. Repair items being red sandstone. Save and keep open. And the pickaxe. Save mod element. Tool, red sandstone sword. And so we make the red sandstone sword. Go. And then for the sword, the attack damage is 5. And the speed is a 1.6. Save and keep open. And we give ourselves that as a repair tool as well. Save mod element. Now we're going to go ahead and do the tool red sandstone hoe. Make a new tool. $131, 5, and then for the hoe, damage goes down to 1, and speed goes up to 2. We're going to go ahead and we're going to say red sandstone, save and keep open. Red sandstone hoe. Just say save mod element. We're already almost done with red sandstone, at least for the tools part. Why is this part faster? When I was doing calcite and basalt and endstone, like when I was doing calcite, I already had one of the items done, and the other 4 took for. Well, I guess I was explaining the steps each time. Now I'm just doing it. Maybe I should. I'll explain everything again for the shovel. Okay. So we go to tool, give the name red sandstone shovel, create new tool. We find the texture by typing in red, which gives us only our tools that we just made. There we go. We've got the shovel now. Go to properties, make it stone, make it a spade. We take it out of the tools and utilities creative tab and we put it into the more stone tools tab. For a stone tool, the vanilla stone tools, the efficiency is 4, and the default on the tool thing is 4, so that's good. Enchantability is a 5, so we go up to 5. For the shovel specifically, the attack damage is 1.75, But if you pay attention, it only goes to the 10th place, so we manually put in the 5 there. And the speed is a 1, so we leave it here. Every stone tool has 131 durability. And their paradigms is what you can use to fix it, which for us and our purposes is red sandstone. Just regular red sandstone, not any, and not the other variant. Just regular old red sandstone. And we say save and open so that we can also add the tool itself to the repair kit. And we save the mod element. And that's red sandstone. Now we make the recipes. And we have to do the recipes after we make the items because you can't have an empty slot in the recipe. Air cannot be created nor destroyed. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and use the cancel first. Then we're gonna scroll down so we can actually see our red sandstone tools, and then we're going to go ahead and say recipe red sandstone axe recipe. Create new recipe. And for the axe, we just need some red sandstone, which we get right here. Use selected. Use selected. Use selected there. And then we get the stick. And now we get the red sandstone axe. And there we go. We put it in the equipment tab because it is a piece of equipment. And we'll say red sandstone is what unlocks the recipe. Alrighty, and we are going to save this mod element because now the red sandstone axe is done. Let me take some water real quick. Also, I don't have any music playing in the background. Give me a second to fix that. Okay, hang on. Go to the history. Actually, hang on. Before we do that, I want to set some of these to 3 dots. Save to watch later. 3 dots. Never mind. I can't put that in the watch later. Anyways. Now we say history. And we scroll down to. I forgot I wanted to watch that. Anyways, let's scroll down to. Where is it? We want this background music. So let's get this background music. I watch a lot of YouTube. There you are. Haha. And we're gonna loop. There we go. Perfect. I'm now going to take the headphones off because this music is solely for your guys' benefit, not mine. There we go. headphones coming off so that way I don't have to hear the music. We're going to lower it just a tad bit so that it's not too loud, especially when the louder parts start. Now, back to the red sandstone. Time for the red sandstone pickaxes recipe. Recipe, red sandstone pickaxe recipe. Create new recipe. Equipment, red sandstone, and we got red sandstone across the top. And then we've got stick and stick. And then we have the red sandstone pickaxe. Save mod element. Recipe, red sandstone sword recipe. And it's just nice and quick and easy to make the sword. Sandstone, and there we go. That's another recipe down. Now we just got two more recipes to make. The red sandstone recipe. I almost put the red sandstone hoe as an ingredient for the red sandstone hoe, which would make it impossible to craft. Stick. Stick. And now we have the hoe. Equipment tab unlocked with red sandstone. Save mod element. And now we just need the shovel, which is going to take just a second. Recipe, red sandstone shovel recipe. Okay, I didn't spell it wrong. Recipe. Equipment. Red sandstone. I almost put shovel. I'm typing sand. No, I don't. Okay, hold on. Stick. We need sticks. Now we get to the red sandstone shovel. Save mod element. And now we can tally mark that off. And we can delete that hex code because we don't need it anymore. Alrighty. Dripstone and prismarine are next. Dripstone is gonna be brown, but not the same color as a wooden pickaxe. Gotta make sure it's not the same color. But first, I'm gonna have a gummy worm. Alrighty. Dripstone time. Tools. Create texture. Create. Generate from template. Stored. Randomize. Unlock the saturation. Change this to HSV. Oh, okay. And I'm going to say okay and oh, hold it. That's definitely different. That's definitely different from wood. We don't need that. Okay. We're making a sword. So let's copy down this code. Control C. Control V. BA7E3C. That is dripstone. Create and merge. Perfect. Save this texture. We are going to save the texture as item and it is dripstone store. No, it can't have spaces. No, it can't have capitals. Dripstone sword. Okay. Save this texture. Tools. Create texture. Create. Generate from template. We want a pickaxe. Randomize. Edit this. RGB. And we want BA 7E3C. There we go. Perfect. Create and merge. Save this texture. Dripstone pickaxe item. Save this texture. Perfect. All right. So far, so good. Tools. Create texture. Create. Template. Axe. Randomize. BA7E3C. Enter. And we say to the OK. Create and merge. Save this texture. Dripstone X. It's an item and save the texture. And then we close and tools and create texture. Create. Generate from template. shovel, randomize. We want a normal tool base. So we want tool base stick. There we go. And change this to BA7E3C. Okay. Create and merge. Save this texture as a dripstone shovel. Item, save texture. And then we just have one more texture to make. Create texture. Here's some template. And randomize and unlock the saturation and change the color value to BA7E3C. Say OK, and then create and merge, and then save this texture. Dripstone. Oh. Item texture, save this texture, and then we're done with the textures, I'm pretty sure. Resources, dripstone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Alrighty. Back to mod elements. Alright. We go with tool. We're going to call it the dripstone sword. Create new tool. And here's what we're going to do to make things faster. Tool. Dripstone X. Create new tool. Tool. Dripstone shovel. Create new tool. Workspace. Tool. Dripstone pickaxe. Create new tool. And last tool, the dripstone hoe. Create new tool. Dripstone hoe. There. Select. Pickaxe. Right there. Select. Shovel. Right there. Select. Axe. Right there. Select. Sword. Right there. Select. Properties. All of them. Let's see if this is any faster. Stone. This is the hoe. Stone block. Selected. Attack speed. Actually, should it be the block or should it be the item? That's the question. Because with sandstone and red sandstone, you turn sand into sandstone block. Everything else is already a block. Both dripstone and prismarine have block and item variants. Aside from wood and stone, every other tool type uses ingots, which are items. rather than using the block version of that ingot, which is a block, which is 9 ingots. Well, hang on, wait. Hold on, that's 9 make those blocks. Whereas both dripstone and prismarine take 4 to make their blocks. Same with sandstone. Okay, no, yeah, we're gonna use the blocks and not the actual spikes. Anyways, this is the hoe. The hoe uses 2 for the speed and 1 for the damage. So that's that. Done. Save and keep open. And we're going to add the hoe. And then save mod element. Now we're on the pickaxe. Pair items. Is the dripstone block. You selected. Now for the pickaxe. 3 damage. And 1.2 speed. Okay, keep open. Save mod element. Now we're on the shovel. Okay, attack speed for the shovel is 1 and damage is 1.75. Dripstone axe. On the axe setting, close it, and more stone tools. You selected. This is the axe, which has 9 as the damage. 131. Attack speed is 0.8. The repair item is dripstone. Save and keep open. We add the axe. Save my element. Back to the sword, which is a sword. Stone here. 5. Attack damage is also 5. Attack speed is a 1.6. 131. Repair item is the dripstone block. Save and keep open. The dripstone sword you selected. Save mod element. That's dripstone half done. Alrighty. Now then, let us get on with the recipes. The most tedious part of this whole thing. Dripstone. Oh. Recipe. Create new recipe. This one we're going to do the same way as before. You know what? Pointed dripstone will be what unlocks the recipe. And you know what? We will also add regular dripstone blocks as well, just in case you get the block before you get the point. There, both of those get it. Now, sand doesn't get it for the sandstone and the red sandstone because, well, it's sand. You can break sand with your hand. I mean, arguably, you can break those things with your hand as well, but I don't actually know. Not dripstone. I think you can. I'm not sure. I will have to check that later. Anyways, dripstone hoe takes dripstone blocks. Sticks. And gives us the dripstone hoe. Save mod element. Next recipe, dripstone pickaxe recipe. Equipment. Pointed dripstone. For the dripstone pickaxe. And then we save the mod element there. Now we're going to do another recipe. This one is going to be dripstone shovel recipe. Create new recipe. Alrighty. Stick and stick. And then we have the dripstone pickaxe. This is a dripstone shovel. Wait. I'm an idiot. I made the pickaxe recipe again. Save mod element. Thankfully, I caught that. All right. Dripstone axe. Dripstone axe recipe. go. There we go. Save mod element. Now we just need a dripstone sword recipe. Dripstone sword recipe. Oh, pickaxe shovel axe. I want to make sure I didn't name it wrong. Okay, so dripstone stick, and that gives us the sword. Equipment, stone block, and pointed dripstone both unlock the recipe. And save mod element. There we go. Dripstone gets the thing next to its name. And we can get rid of this hex code. We could have gotten rid of the hex code as soon as we were done with the texture, but I decided not to do that. Alrighty. Well then, let's get to work on the. Actually, let's pop in to the showcase world first. Is we're going to take the two complete. I forgot to change their positions in the creative menu. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to burp that loudly. Okay, what we're going to do is we are going to put the pickaxes in their appropriate place. And then we are going to go ahead and move on and fix the creative menu, the creative mode menus spots for the new items because I did not make them in creative mode inventory order. But first things first, we're going to get the um the creative world ready, the mod showcase world ready. Am I doing this explicitly to put off doing Prismarine? An argument could be made to say that. Also, I'm shocked it hasn't even been a full hour yet. And we've already done almost the same amount of work as we did on Monday's stream. Monday was 3 hours of work, and we got 3 tool types done. Today, it's been almost an hour, and I've gotten 2 tool types complete. I find that shocking. Nothing has changed in my approach. Well, a little bit has changed, but nothing so dramatic that it would cut the work time almost into thirds. If I was making obsidian and bedrock, then, you know, getting 2 of them done in an hour would mean it would take 3 hours to do double the work that I did on Monday's stream. Of course, we already had this discussion. We're not doing obsidian in bedrock. They do not count right now as stone types. Bedrock is unobtainable, even though I have an idea for a ridiculously expensive crafting recipe to give you bedrock. I fear what people. You know what? Okay. For the stone tools mod, if I added bedrock as a stone, I would make bedrock able to be beaconized. The bedrock beacon would be more expensive than the netherite beacon. And you know what? If I added bedrock, I wouldn't make it so that you could obtain actual bedrock blocks. I would give you bedrock shards. Bedrock shards would be expensive enough to. Hold on. It's open, it's just behind the thing. Okay. Since we're not going to be spending a lot of time here, we are going to be doing basically one thing here. Popping in, we're putting the thing in, and then we are popping out. Alrighty. Red sandstone, dripstone, just because I need to know. Okay, yeah. Dripstone and wood look nothing alike. Had to make sure. Now, okay. I feel like I color matched to the block pretty well. When it comes to tools. Dripstone looks good. Red sandstone looks absolutely horrendous. Red sandstone is orange. It's orange. I'm gonna have to fix that because that's gonna piss me off otherwise. Let's go ahead, get rid of a red sandstone pickaxe from the inventory, and line you up with your dripstone block. There. Then puts title, quit game. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the workspace, number one. We're gonna go to the creative tab, and we want to go pickaxe, axe, hoe, shovel, sword. Pickaxe, axe, hoe, shovel, sword. Pickaxe, axe, hoe, shovel, sword. Perfect. Okay, save the layout. And I'm gonna have to fix the red sandstone textures to be more orange, less reddish. But that's gonna have to wait because the 1 hour timer has just rung. And so, in the spirit of anything can happen Thursday, we take what we're currently doing and we stop it. Bring back the desktop icons. We're going to need them. And we're going to open the streamer wheels again. Close it. Alrighty. It's been an hour. And now it is that time again where we spin the Anything Can Happen Thursday wheel. Because anything can happen Thursday. So let's spin that wheel. We're going to play an indie game. We're playing an indie game. Okay, I need the headphones back. I need to turn off the Minecraft music. And okay, let's pop that back open so I can see stream chat again. We're playing an indie game. Let's minimize the streamer wheels. Pop open Steam. Why is it on my wish list? No, we don't want to see the wish list. We want to be in the library. All right. And what constitutes an indie game? I don't know. But I know what's not an indie game. And so what is an indie game is Fever Meme. Let's update it because for whatever reason it needs to update. And then we're gonna play some Fever Meme. So let me go into here, edit stream info, and change the category. Fever Meme. Fever Meme. Hopefully it finishes the update quickly. Done. We are no longer in just chatting. We are now in Fever Meme because we rolled indie game. So let's do this thing. I've never played Fever Meme before. I've seen very little gameplay of it. But once this finishes doing its whole thing, we're gonna play some Fever Meme because anything can happen Thursday. And oh, yeah, let me set the 1 hour timer again once we load into the game. Once we load into the game, I'll start the 1 hour timer, and then after an hour passes, or if we beat the game, whichever comes first, we will go back to the well. Yeah, no, yeah. If we beat Fever Meme in an hour, I don't think we will. Number one, gonna throw that out there. I doubt we're gonna beat it in an hour, but we will find out. Let's play Fever Meme. Minimize Steam, and we are going to pray that Fever Meme can run on my computer. It should. I see no reason why it can't. But maybe they have a 2 million polygon screw or toothbrush or something that makes it so that it can't run. I don't know. I have no idea what's in the game. I think there might be Huh? No, I don't care. Launch the game! Please? It is running. Will it launch? Is the question. Okay. Was that a legit troll? Was that a legit crash screen, or is that part of the game? That was a legit crash. Okay. Apparently, we're not playing Fever Meme. So let's go back to just chatting. Because apparently we're not playing Fever Meme because that game will not launch. So what else is there? You know what? Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Uh, let's see. Let's see. You know what? Let's play some Plants vs. Zombies game of the year. The first Plants vs. Zombies game, widely considered to be indie. So I know this one will launch. I've played this game on this computer many times. So please launch. Good. Oh my gosh, why is it so small? No. I really hope Plants vs. Zombies Game of the Year doesn't have a freaking resolution changer because I don't want the game to be this small on the screen. My mouse is huge. Okay, if this does not have a way to change the resolution, then we're not playing Plants vs. Zombies because I'm not going to subject you to tiny box screen. Also, I need to uh, change the category back from just chatting to Plants vs. Zombies. So I need to do that. Please don't be stuck on the loading title screen. Okay, there we go. Click to start. Okay. If I can click to start, it means I can click to quit. Options. Oh my goodness. Let's turn off full screen then. Say okay. And what does that give us? It gives us tiny screen still. Is this really the biggest that it goes? Hang on, let me see if I can fix something up. First of all, though, let's change that category. Plants versus zombies. Okay, there we go. That's been changed. Now, let me see what I can do in OBS. The window capture, create new. Okay, select the window. There we go. And then say okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull this here and we're going to line it up with the pre-existing one and make it bigger. There. That is specifically for Plants vs. Zombies. Let's go ahead, right click here, and we're going to say don't show desktop icons. Because I can play on a screen this small. That's not an issue. I can play on a screen this small. It's a matter of the viewers being able to see what's going on. I can play on a small screen. That's not an issue. Let's take a look at the Zen Garden. Oh, let's start the 1 hour timer. I have beaten this game, so there is that. I will say, because it said indie game, I think this is the only Plants vs. Zombies title that really counts as indie. Because every other title was made by EA. This one was not. We don't have any fertilizer, so we're gonna need to fix that. Pea shooter is thirsty. All right. Okay, now all three of them want um, fertilizer. I said the name earlier. Okay, 5 fertilizer. Thank you, Crazy Dave. All right, now we go back. There we go. Perfect. Now, I do believe these guys are the max size that they can be, so I'm going to go ahead and sell this marigold for 3,000. Nice. Now we're going to put the cherry bomb there, and now all 4 of them are right there. All right. Now we're back here. We're done with the Zen Garden. The Almanac. We need this guy. And then we'll be finally done with the Almanac. And we've got a couple more plants to buy too. And if we look at our achievements, the achievements we're going for right now are cryptozombologist and morticulturalist. And to do that, we're going to go ahead and go to, actually, hang on. Let's see. Should we try Bobsled Bonanza again? Or Zombani 2 or Pokemon? I dislike these 3 because they're difficult. It's why they haven't been beaten yet, but they are the only one stopping me from, well, actually, only one of them is stopping me from trying this minigame. And then, of course, I have completed the puzzles, Vase Breaker and iZombie, but you know what? Anything can happen Thursday. We're going to play several of the iZombie levels. All right. Now, here's what we're going to do. We've got regular zombies, and we have buckethead zombies, and we have football zombies. We're going to use a buckethead on this lane. Because a single pea shooter cannot destroy a buckethead. Not when they're this close. Which is why we're also putting a buckethead up there. And see, this buckethead's already gotten to the brain. It's just a matter of actually physically getting to the brain. What we're going to do is we're going to bait out the squash with a regular zombie. We are going to use a regular zombie here. And we're going to use a regular and a buckethead here. We're going to use a football zombie down here. I'm going to use a football zombie, a regular zombie, and a bucket head. And another football zombie. And another regular zombie. With 3 zombies basically stacked and protecting each other from damage, ergo, we win. Because now we get the 5th brain. And say goodbye to that final Snow Pea. And there we go. That's the basis of a zombie. We're going to play some Vase Breaker as well. You break a pot, you get a plant. Or you get a zombie. You want to have plants covering every lane. And the big thing is, you don't want to get too many out at once. Top lane is done. Second lane is done. Also, in case you didn't notice, that was a Jack-in-the-Box zombie. They will break the other vases. With only 2 more pots left. Hey, the last couple only had plants. Once every pot is broken, then you win. It's really just, it's not a good thing to, it's not really ideal to farm for money, either of these puzzles. But they are puzzle. And then you got survival mode. Survival mode is difficult. We're going on an adventure. Because anything can happen Thursday. Nice. Scaredy Shroom is someone that I was already planning on bringing to this level. Puff Shroom, Gravebuster, Sunflower, Sunshroom. Actually, I have to beat a night level without using any mushrooms. So let's snag Pea Shooter. And I don't think Gravebuster counts as a mushroom. I hope he doesn't. Because if he does, I'll be disappointed. Potato Mine. And let's go with Chopper. Let's rock. As tempting as it is to grab Scaredy Shroom, we are not grabbing Scaredy Shroom. We need to beat a night level without any mushrooms. There we go. I've been playing a lot of Plants vs. Zombies 2 because I was just thinking I should plant food the potato mine. Because if you plant food a potato mine in PvZ2, you get extra potato mines. Okay, now we have 2 sunflowers. The important thing is that so far everything's going perfectly fine. We've got 3 sunflowers. There's no sun falling from the sky. That is the one singular hiccup of the night level. No sun. But that's why. Come on, sunflowers. I need a bit more than this. I should have grabbed walnut. Why didn't I grab walnut? I think I just need to sacrifice the top and the bottom lawnmowers. Why the hell is he so fast? Oh my gosh. Restart level. Hold on. We gotta restart. Okay. Sunflower, pea shooter, walnut, potato mine. That's all good. We're all good with that. And Gravebuster. Gravebuster. Lazarok. Okay. There. Perfect. The spooky thing is, if I accidentally planted garlic, then the level would just be over because there's no extra sun coming to put down a sunflower. Okay. Resist the urge to place the potato mine. What I need to do is I need to be able to put down multiple plants at the same time. So, by stalling out, come on, sunflower, please. By strategically sacrificing lawnmowers, Okay, no, we're not doing this right now. We're gonna play the night level normally because I've not had time to look up a how do I do this guide. Let's go. We're doing this mushroom style. There. We already have 3 plants. We've got a sun producer, and we can instantly put down mushrooms because they cost no sun. There we go. Now we have 2 sun shrooms. Okay. There we go. And we got some more sun producers. I can't believe we're still not to the first flag. All right. All right. Now we got the big ones. The first huge wave of zombies is approaching. And the final grave is getting deleted. Newspaper zombie is a non threat. There we go. Magnet Shroom strikes again. There we go. Use Hypno Shroom to turn the zombie against the other zombie. Magnet Shroom takes that. There we go. Huge wave of zombies is approaching, and there we go. Nice and easy. This level basically is over. There's not much else for me to do. Oh, that's not true. That is not true. That is very not true. Oh, I was very wrong about that. Hypno Shroom needs to recharge. So I can. Never mind, he's dead. Okay. There. I got a little bit too confident. There we go. There we go. That garlic stall was just enough. The fume shroom. He pauses just enough to take a little bit extra damage. Final wave didn't even have any bucket heads. That's even awesomer. Bam! And he's gone. Perfect. Just because I'm curious, and because we're about to start entering the harder night levels, I'm gonna see. I'm gonna Google what good strategies there are. Let's see. EVZ night without much. Four dash 5. That is a night. That is a fog level. Okay. You know what? 4-10, no magnet shroom, sea shroom. 4-10. What level is 4-10? Is that the conveyor level? That is the conveyor level. Okay, that's the conveyor level. Since it's the conveyor belt level, that's gonna make it the easiest to do this. Okay, cool. We won't worry about the achievement until World 4. Actually, let's go to the menu. Back to the main menu. Let's see. Let us see. Achievement. A streak of 10 in iZombie endless. A streak of 15 in Basebreaker endless. That's a pool level. That's a roof level. 8,000 sun in a single level. I beat Good Morning already. That's good. Daytime level with only mushrooms, coffee beans. No fungus. Popcorn party requires gargantuars. Okay, yeah, so no fungus among us. We can do that. Oh yes, this is the team that made Bejeweled as well, or company that made. I've never understood this reference. Like scrolling down, you get references. You got zombie worm, and you got this thing, which I think is a bookworm. And then as you scroll down, you got the Bejeweled gems, remembering their roots. then whatever this thing is, green fuzz thing. I don't know this reference either. It's a unicorn, and the red and the blue dots seem significant, but I don't know what the reference is. But then you got a pipe. I don't get this reference either. Welcome to China. Anyway, so that's that with that. Now let's just go. Let's go to the next level, level 2-3. What were the other strategies actually? Let me see. Is there a strategy? Yeah, that's 2-1. Okay, yeah, no, we're just going to because every other strategy needs this to be on level 2-1, and we're on 2-3. So yeah, we're just gonna wait until the pool levels to do that. I am getting a phone call, so I will be right back with you. Give me one moment, y'all. I got to turn on the outside lights. One moment. All right. I'm back. All right. Let's go. You guys hear the game music? There we go. Now it's at least showing up on the audio mixer. Okay. Let's see. Let's go with the Fume Shrimp. We need that. And the Grave Buster, we need that. So there we go. Plants have been chosen. Nice and simple. There we go with this. There we go. Perfect. There we go. Nice and symmetrical so far. And there we go. Okay. We've got a strategy. I don't think we're going to get there in time for the strategy. After all, does anything can happen Thursday, which means that eventually my phone's timer will go off and we will go back to the wheel. But until then, how did I predict that? Because I quite literally predicted that. All right. Oh, I don't have Scaredy Shroom in this level. I just realized that. Alrighty. And so there we go with this. Welcome home. Hello, I'm streaming. Nice. I hard countered both of those pole zombies right here. I forgot how long some of these levels take. We're not even done with the level. We've still got 2 more flags. Just because we've got the time for it. Those 2 puff shrooms will never see action. There we go. Perfect. Here we are. Oh, I clicked away from the game. I did not mean to do that. Uh-huh. Oh, perfect. We made it halfway through the night levels. Back to the main menu. We quit the game. There we go. Alrighty. Now, back to the wheel. Alrighty. We spin the wheel once more. And we get fan fiction. Well, well, well. I am now faced with a choice because it's 9 o'clock at night. I've been live for 2.5 hours. And tomorrow is Fanfiction Friday. So, do I spin the wheel of fanfiction now? Or you know what? No, we're not even gonna. We're doing this. It is time to spin the fanfiction wheel. We're getting a little teaser as to what tomorrow will bring. And tomorrow we will spin the wheel again. Ready? A 3. Oh, wait, hang on. Let me change the category back to just chatting. Just chatting. We're back to that. Now that we have properly changed the stream info again, it is time to spin that wheel. Okay, first fan fiction that we're reading is going to be Deku. I think he's some pro. We're going to copy the text. Archive of our own, because that is where this story is. Bam! Here it is. 94 chapters. And here we go. Alright. For those of you who know how fanfiction works, then you know how it works. For those of you who don't know how fanfiction works, also this final segment I'm thinking is going to be shorter. You know, we give them all the same treatment. Someone who really enjoys My Hero Academia wrote this. This is 191,001 words. Let me go ahead and give you an example of a book with 190,000 words. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire had approximately 190,000 words. Dune had approximately 180,000 words. This book has 1,000 more words than Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And Clouds wrote this for free. Alrighty. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go chapter by chapter. Typically, I have the entire thing. But I think we're just going to go chapter by chapter. Alright. Summary. Yagi Toshinori watched the green-haired boy walk away after saving his friend and shook his head. While the boy's actions were heroic, he was just too reckless. He walked in the opposite direction, thinking about a time he could meet the candidate Sir Night-Eye put forward. Izuku Midoriya goes home and decides that, even if he can't be a hero himself, he can still help them with his analysis. Cue Izuku catching the attention of multiple heroes who are a little more open-minded and willing to see the potential in a quirkless kid. Yes, this is a quirkless Izuku fic. Chapter 1. Hope and Heart. Even after an hour-long shower, Izuku still felt the weight of the past 24 hours clinging to his skin. All Might looked down on him from every wall in his room, judgmental eyes staring straight into his soul. You can't be a hero. Not without a quirk. Be realistic. Izuku went to bed crying for his broken dream. His room looked empty without all his All Might merch. It wasn't that Izuku hated All Might now. It's just that every time he looked at the smiling hero, all he could think was, you can't be a hero. Just because Izuku was finally coming to terms with that fact didn't mean he needed it playing on a loop in his head every time he's at home. He still had a few posters up from some of his other favorite heroes, but he changed his sheets to a plain black set that he found collecting dust in the linen closet, paired with a gold pillowcase. It wasn't official merchandise, but it reminded Izuku of Eraserhead anyway. It had taken him a few days. It had taken a few days for him to gather the courage, but Izuku had finally sat down and updated his hero analysis notebooks, leaving out the parts on All Might's secret weakness. It was oddly comforting. He had thought it would be painful, and it was in some ways, but it was mostly familiar. Like his analysis was the one part of himself that hadn't shattered alongside his hero dream. That was why he found himself, during his latest bout with insomnia, browsing a lesser known hero forum. He'd found it several years earlier and quickly figured out that a lot of underground heroes used it to communicate with each other, since it offered encrypted chats and accounts were only known by random numbers rather than usernames. He'd spent about 2 weeks back then figuring out which accounts corresponded to which heroes, but he had never posted himself. As Zuko drowsily scrolled through old posts, a crazy idea occurred to him. If he couldn't be a hero himself, why couldn't he help the real heroes be better? In the morning, he'd blame it on sleep deprivation and then promptly die of mortification. But that didn't change the fact that, at 2 o'clock in the morning, Izuku Midoriya sent 10 underground heroes in depth analysis of their quirks and fighting styles. New message 12579. Eraserhead. Thank you for the analysis. It was eye-opening to see my strengths and weaknesses from an outside perspective, not to mention the ideas for improvement. Izuku was hyperventilating. Eraserhead, the Eraserhead, had thanked him for his analysis. The Eraserhead! It almost made up for Kachan and his lackeys beating him up again during lunch. Not quite, because the bullying had gotten worse since the sludge villain incident, but it came close. Several other heroes had also sent him messages thanking him, while others, who had apparently heard of his analysis from their friends, had asked him to send them theirs. He was just finishing up verifying the identities of those who had requested analyses to make sure he wasn't accidentally helping any villains, when he saw a blinking notification in the bottom left corner of his screen. New message 12579 Eraserhead. Do you analyze villains? So, before we move on, I am going to say when viewed by itself, the chapter is a lot shorter than I thought it was. But then when I typically read things in entire work setups, I go from chapter 1 to chapter 2 to chapter 3 to chapter 4, and it's all one long scroll downwards. On some level, I recognize that chapters are going by, but it never really clicks. Not quite. That was Hope and Heartbreak of Deku. I think he's some pro. We're going to go into the next chapter. Chapter 2 Deku. What do the heroes think of this new mystery analyst? Okay. Private chat 58726. Miss Joke. So, does anyone know who our mystery analyst actually is? 87657. Mr. Brave. Does anyone know who any of us are? We're called underground heroes for a reason. Point taken. 72598. Sir Nida. It is a valid question, though. He came out of nowhere. How do we know he's not a villain giving us false information in order to defeat us? How do you know it's a he? 12579. Eraserhead. So far, all the information he's given me has been accurate, and no villains have known information about me that they shouldn't. Besides, if he was a villain, I think we would have already been targeted, considering he could have easily beaten any one of us using the information and the analyses he sent us. As strange as the situation is, I think he really is trustworthy, but only time will tell. It's possible he's a pro who's new on the scene. With that level of analysis, more likely he's some veteran deigned to impart his infinite wisdom on the younger generation. He's had an account on the site for years. I checked, but he's never posted before now. Maybe it's Nedzu. No, I already asked him if he was behind it. I'm leaning more towards a retired pro. What are we even supposed to call him? If he's a hero, what's his code name? Yeah, typing out mystery analyst every time is gonna get old real quick. Well, there's only one logical way to find out. It had been a little over a week since Izuku had impulsively started sending his analyses to pro heroes, and he had quickly fallen into a new routine. Go to school, hide from Kachan at lunch, more school, run from Kachan after class, maybe catch a villain fight on the way home, do homework, eat dinner, complete analysis requests from the Hero Underground, go to bed. Most of the time, heroes simply wanted analysis for themselves, but a handful had started sending him videos of villains in action for him to analyze. Today, Izuku logged into his account hesitantly, with Kachan's most recent jeers still echoing in his ears. It had been a bad day, and Izuku had failed at both hiding and running, resulting in twice as many beatings. Why had he ever thought he could be useful to actual heroes when he was just a weak, useless, worthless Deku? Okay, reading this out loud, it's a lot worse when you read it out loud than when you just read it to yourself. Izuku shook his head and opened his inbox to find a new message from Eraserhead. New message. 12579. Eraserhead. By the way, what's your code name? Kachan's voice echoed in Izuku's mind. Useless, worthless, Deku, Deku, Deku. Private chat. 12579. Eraserhead. His name is Deku. Yep. That's how he gets his hero name in this world. I'm thinking one more chapter, and then we spin the fanfiction wheel again. How's that sound? I think that sounds good. You know, I think that's what we're going to do from now on. That's what we're going to do for Fanfiction Friday. I was debating about how to do it. Fanfiction Friday. 3 chapters every wheel spin. Actually, no. I think I'm just going to do that for Anything Can Happen Thursday. Anything Can Happen Thursday is going to be 3 chapters of a fanfic and then spin the fanfic wheel again. Okay. Chapter 3. Meeting the Pros. Deku meets up with the pros. Mom, I'm gonna meet up with some friends tonight. I don't know when I'll be home, but it'll probably be pretty late, so don't bother waiting up for me, Izuku yelled as he finished packing his laptop I tried to get his bright red shoes on the correct feet. Okay, baby. His mom smiled with tears in her eyes. I'm so glad you have friends. You've seemed so much happier lately. Tell them I said hi and invite them to dinner sometime. I want to meet these friends you were always talking about. Izuku hummed non-committally as his mom pulled him in for one last kiss on the cheek before he ran out the door. It had been almost 7 months since Izuku had wormed his way into the underground hero community, but tonight would be the first time he would be meeting any of his friends in person. There was a massive drug ring they had been following for a while, and a lot of heroes were coming together to take him down. They had even invited Izuku, well, Deku, to tag along and maybe even be on site to help strategize when their plans inevitably went off the rails. He'd warned them that he wasn't really ready for combat, but there were enough other pros that they didn't think it'd be a problem. The raid itself wouldn't be happening for another few months anyway, but everyone involved was meeting tonight in a secure location so they could make sure they all work well together and start planning. The meeting wasn't in an area Zuko was highly familiar with, but since he'd gotten involved with the underground, he'd spent a lot of time studying maps to create better location analyses and plans for the heroes he helped. So when he exited the train, he confidently followed the mental map he'd memorized before he left. The rundown apartment complex didn't look like much, but it was typical of the areas his friends worked in. He climbed the stairs to the second floor, found the correct apartment, and took a deep breath. Then he knocked. We're just waiting for Deku, right? Miss Joke asked, lounging back in her chair and putting her feet up on the scuffed table. 14 other underground pro heroes, plus Detective Tsukauchi, were all gathered around the dingy apartment, idly snacking on refreshments as they waited for the meeting to officially begin. He should be here soon, Eraser had replied flatly. There was a knock on the door, and there he is now. Sir Night-Eye rose and called through the door. How were things in Tokyo? The group had chosen a question-answer password system to ensure that no uninvited guests crashed the party. Everyone inside waited with bated breath, prepared to attack or evade should the answer be incorrect. The weather was terrible, but the food was great. The heroes exchanged shocked glances. The password was correct, but the voice was that of a teenager, not an old man like they had been expecting. They waited 1 second longer. Then Night-Eye asked, "Who is this?" Deku? It was said as if it were a question, and the person on the side of the door was apparently young enough that his voice was still cracking. Night-Eye looked to the others for confirmation and showed a shrug, gesturing to open the door. May as well see where this leads. The kid, because it was undeniably a kid, on the other side of the door was not what Shoto was expecting. He was short and scrawny, with just a hint of muscles starting to show on his arms, and his dark green hair looked as if he'd lost a battle trying to comb it. To complete the look of an innocent teenager, he was wearing jeans and a t-shirt with, Eraser squinted to read the writing. Yep, that said pants. Deku was wearing a t-shirt that said pants on it. It seemed that the rest of the heroes were just as shocked as Shoto was, because the whole ensemble sat there silently staring at the kid until he started to awkwardly shuffle his weight between his feet. Finally, Mr. Brave broke silence. "You're Deku?" The kid flinched and showed aside. Mr. Brave was more brash than most heroes, but he did get the point across. Yes? Again with answering as if it were a question. Every head turned to Detective Tsukauchi, who just nodded, confirming the kid was telling the truth, but he looked just as shocked as everyone else. Everyone turned back to look at the kid, who apparently really was Deku, who was still standing awkwardly in front of the open door. I guess, Ms. Joke started slowly, we were expecting someone older? The kid just shrugged. Well, Shota thought, that's that, he sighed. Come in and let's get started. It's illogical for you to just stand there all night, and close the door behind you. The kid nodded frantically and practically tripped over himself in his hurry to close the door and sit down. Who was this kid? Well, Detective Tsukauchi started. Now that we're all here, I guess we can get started on the mission. Wait, Miss Joke leaned forward in her seat. Most of us haven't worked together before, so wouldn't it be a good idea to get to know each other a little more before we get down to business? Wouldn't it be good to get to know Deku? Our curiosity will restrict us otherwise. Actually, Deku spoke softly, most of you have worked together before, but only in groups of 2 or 3, and no one here has worked with anyone else here with the exception of me and maybe the detective, but I don't know if I count since I do most of my work virtually. The kid didn't even realize he was starting to mumble and shut his mouth in a tight line as we were expecting to be scolded for it. Yeah, Mr. Brave bit the bullet. Despite the fact that we've all worked with you, Deku, we don't really know you. Seems kind of unfair when you know enough about each of us, you'd probably kill us in our sleep if you wanted to. Deku's eyes widened, his arms started flaring. I would never do that, and I really think I could anyway. My analysis isn't really all that special. Anyone can do what I do. Jonah didn't agree with that, but he decided to let it lie. I think Braven's a good point. What hero school do you go to? Because obviously this kid is trying to be a hero, considering he already helped him replace this. Hopefully Nezu would at least be polite when trying to steal him from wherever he was attending. I'm still in middle school, actually. I go to Aldera Junior High. I don't know where I'll be going to high school yet, but I think I'm going to apply for UA's General Education Department. Well, at least Nezu wasn't going to burn any bridges, but why not the hero course? From the way the kid hunched his shoulder, Shoto could tell he was trying to appear smaller than he was, which was already pretty darn small. Interesting. Despite how much I'd like to, I can't be a hero. He took a deep breath, as if stealing his courage. I'm quirkless. The words seemed to echo in the small room, despite the fact that Deku hardly whispered them. How? He had to have an analysis quirk, or at least one that alters intelligence. He couldn't be quirkless, could he? That would make some of his behavior make a lot more sense. We bought some footage of known drug ring members for you to analyze, Deku. Apparently Suguchi didn't know how to deal with the metaphorical bomb Deku just dropped either. If you're ready. The kid reached into the yellow backpack he'd bought with him and pulled out a standard notebook and a few pens before nodding. The detective turned on the small TV that had been set up at one end of the room and started to play footage that a security camera had caught of the drug ring they were tracking. Almost instantly, Deku started muttering while his pen started flying across the page. Obvious mutant type quirk, most likely sign of fish, no aquatic mammal, no scales. Most likely can't breathe underwater then, but probably still weak to fire quirks or dry environments, kind of like Gang Orca. Then some kind of darkness manipulation quirk. Does allow him to make solid object or just shadows? Could be used to make someone effectively blind. How bright does light have to be to cancel out the ability? Most effective corner enclosed space with bright light or with other allies to make him hesitant to completely black out the area. Deku kept analyzing while the heroes stared at him wide-eyed. Yeah, they'd all read Deku's analyses, but it was another thing entirely just to see it in person. The video ended after about 5 minutes and the next started playing automatically. Deku hardly paused in his mutter storm, just continuing his notes where he left off. Shoto pulled his eyes away from Deku when he saw movement in the corner of his eye. Miss Joker gestured frantically, widening her eyes and lifting up strands of her long hair before pointing at Deku. Shoto looked at confusion before rolled her eyes. Use your quirk, she mouthed. Ah, if he had some kind of analysis quirk he didn't know about or was hiding for some reason, it might make sense. It wasn't that Shoto didn't believe the kid was quirkless. Suguchi didn't call him out on it at least. But it couldn't hurt to have some additional confirmation. Making sure that Deku was still focused on the video and not looking at him, Shoto activated his quirk. The rest heroes had already noticed the side comments from looking at the kid, waiting for any reaction to having his quirk cancelled. Deku didn't even seem to notice Shoto's eyes on him, much less a sudden absence of a quirk. His mutter storm continued at the same pace as before, and his pen didn't slow down. The kid didn't even stutter. It surprised Shoto enough that he blinked, and his hair fell in front of his face. The heroes traded glances, and Shoto could have sworn he saw Miss Joke mouth, "Wow." He agreed full-heartedly with the sentiment. The police had only managed to scrounge over about a half-hour of footage from the cartel, but that was enough to fill almost half of Deku's notebook. He put down his pencil and started massaging the stiffness out of his hand. Okay, I think I have a good idea of what we're up against. This is a lot more footage than I usually have to work with, so that's nice. I'd never thought about that, Mr. Brave said. I guess we all guessed you were older, so we weren't worried about how dangerous it must be for you to go out and supplement the videos we sent. I am so sorry. Deku looked confused. What do you mean supplement? So now I spoke this time. You know, hitting the streets, finding the villains in the videos, and making your own observations. If I'd known Deku was a kid, I'd never have let you do that. Deku looked panicked and flailed his arms again. I never do that. My mom would kill me and then ground me until I was 80. The videos you send me are usually more than enough, and sometimes I can manage to find some news footage, but I wouldn't dream of following these guys myself, I promise. You mean all the analyses you've sent us are based only on the videos we've sent you? Yoda asked incredulously. He read a few times he'd only been able to find a minute or so of footage, but they could still provide a high quality analysis. From the face around table, he wasn't the only one. The Shirakawa murders. This joke sounded numb. I only sent you 15 seconds of video. Deku gave a shaky smile and rubbed the back of his neck. Yeah, that one was kind of difficult. I couldn't really find anything else in the news or online either. But the mission worked out okay, and you caught the guy, so it wasn't that bad. Miss Joke looked slightly nauseous. Somehow the meeting progressed without any more major surprises from Deku, and they set up some tentative plans. But mostly things would depend on what happened with the cartel in the next few months. It wasn't until the meeting was wrapping up that Shota realized that this meeting wasn't in a safe part of town, which wasn't a problem for the pro heroes and professional detective attendants, but was a problem for the 14-year-old Deku. Kid, do you have someone coming to pick you up? Deku shook his head. We don't have a car. I just took the train here. You don't have to worry about me. Somehow that just made Shota more worried. Suguruchi seemed to agree with him. I'll take him home. You don't have to do that, detective. I'm fine, really. This isn't for you, Deku. I, as a cop, don't feel comfortable letting a 12-year-old walk home alone at 2 in the morning. I'm 14. Not helping your case, problem child. Yoda hid his smile behind his capture weapon when Deku had the audacity to look betrayed. He couldn't help himself. This kid had potential. Tsukuchi was already grabbing his keys and heading for the door. If I'm taking you home, I'll probably need a real name. I already told you you don't need to do that, the kid muttered, but he gave a blinding smile anyway. I'm Izuku Midoriya. As soon as the door was closed, all semblance of professionalism disappeared and Miss Joke squealed. He's so adorable. Did you know he was so adorable, Racer? Why didn't anyone warn me? Maybe because that adorable kid is good enough analyst to take down a serial killer with only 15 seconds of video. Night-Eye deadpanned. Miss Joke at least had the good grace to look embarrassed. What does it say about us that we legit thought a 14-year-old was a retired pro for 7 months? Mr. Brave laughed, causing a chain reaction to the pros who started to chuckle. Eraser raised one eyebrow. I think that says more about him than it does about us, but he still couldn't stop his smile. One of the heroes sobered as he realized something. The fact still stands that Deku is a quirkless teenager, and any plans that required him to be on site just went out the window. The room went silent for a few moments as the heroes considered that. Not necessarily, Night-Eye spoke up. Teenagers can still be on site if it's part of an internship. I call dibs, Miss Joke yelled. Mr. Brave Scout, you can't just call dibs, Joke. He's not even part of the hero course yet. But he will be, Shota said. I have a hard time believing Nezu would ever pass up a chance to see someone like Deku, even if he had to get into the sports festival. That wouldn't stop Shota from putting his name in for the recommendation exam. That kid needed every advantage he could get. And there we have it. Izuku has impressed Aizawa. Ugh. All right. And well, that's a good place to stop Deku. Let's go back to the streamer wheel. And it's anything can happen Thursday. Let's spin for the next fanfiction. And if it lands on the same one, we're going to spin again. Swan dive. Okay. That's certainly a choice. Okay. Let it be known. I put this here because it's a good story. However, I must do my civic duty and slap a big old trigger warning on this entire next segment. Because if me saying the word trigger warning next to the word swan dive hasn't clued you in, this is a My Hero Academia fan fiction. Again, it's a different one, but it's still My Hero. Think of what Bakugo said in the first episode. If you really want to be a hero so badly, pray you'll be born with a quirk in your next life, then take a swan dive off the roof of the building. That is what was said. And now I'm going to give you guys a moment to realize what that means for this fanfiction. It's not short. It is not a short one-shot thing. Okay? But the trigger warning needs to be put there because it needs to be put there. Now, tribe of our own. Swan dive. Now, edit my search. Swan dive and My Hero Academia. Hold on. Where's the language? English. I have to find it. Where are you? Where is it? Hold on. I need to expand the thing. Edit search. We need to find. Hold on. Where are you? Characters. Eraser head. There. Now we search. That should narrow things a lot. Let's see. Where is it? What? Where are you? Here we go. I think this is it. Hold on. Okay. This one I know will link me to the correct one. If I click this one, then I should be able to. Hold on. Where's it? There you are. Perfect. Okay, here we go. This is the correct one. 24 chapters. We're going to read 3 of them. Focus up. Trigger warning. Because, of course, there is. Very important. Chapter 1. Trigger warning. Because I believe that it is specifically just chapter 1, and everything else is what happens afterwards. Chapter 1. Rooftop. The wind was gentle and cool. It caressed the face of the green-haired child as he stood at the edge of the roof. It tried to wipe away his tears as they flowed silently down his cheek. For the first time in years, they weren't sad tears. They were. Should I even be reading this? I feel like I'm gonna get like struck for this. You know what? I'm gonna have to mark this as 18 plus on the YouTube VOD. Okay. The wind was gentle and cool. It caressed the face of the green-haired child as he stood at the edge of the roof. He tried to wipe away his tears as they flowed silently down his cheeks. For the first time in years, they weren't sad tears. They were tears of relief. Finally, he smiled softly to himself. Finally, I know what to do. Arigato, Kachan. Though his friend's words earlier that day had been of anger, he couldn't find it in himself to be angry. This was, after all, his own decision. His own weakness led him here. He'd met his hero, All Might. He'd shared his secret of weakness with him. He felt honored, but bitter. It hurt more than he was willing to admit to hear those words from his idol. I cannot simply say, you can become a hero even without power. Even you, All Might, I should have known. He smiled. I understand now. I'll never become a hero. The words felt choked in his throat, but he couldn't bring himself to care anymore. He felt numb, empty. Yet his head was clear, almost painfully so. His mind was calm, even though it should have been a whirlwind of emotion. And if I can't help people, then I have no reason to stay. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. He whispered back the words she once had sobbed to him. His shoes were placed neatly and carefully beside his backpack, a short, quaint note to his mother hidden within the zipper of his bag. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the wind around him. No heroes would be nearby, he knew, not with that commotion across town. The plume of smoke would surely draw all active nearby heroes to the other side of town. Nobody would save him. He didn't want anybody to. He opened his eyes and smiled serenely at the city around him. Life will go on. The death of a quirkless child will affect no one. On the edge of his hearing, he thought he heard someone behind him, but he didn't bother to look. If they hadn't spoken out by now, then it was either his imagination or someone who simply didn't care. Besides, who would stop him when he just admitted being quirkless aloud? It was probably nothing anyway. Trigger warning. I mean, this whole chapter is a massive ass trigger warning. He let go of the railing and leaned forward. Part of him had expected fear, regret, doubt, guilt, but that's not what he felt. Relief, peace, calm. He didn't scream, he smiled. And so Midoriya Izuku fell. He hadn't been on duty. Aizawa Shoda had been out running errands for his husband, Yamada Hisashi. Why the cockatoo thought he needed to be out in the sunlight was beyond him, but, as always, his luck wouldn't allow for him to simply have a normal day off. It started with an explosion in the distance. For a moment, he really thought about running off to see what the commotion was, but eventually decided against it. I'm an underground hero for a reason, he told myself. Besides, if the heroes at the scene need help, they'll send out an SOS. He wrapped his hand around the red phone in his pocket in case they did send out the signal, but he didn't really expect it. With the amount of damage that blast likely caused, there was little doubt in Shota's mind that every hero in the area would be at the scene. They'd have plenty of backup. No need for an underground hero to intervene. There was no reason for him to be there, especially now when All Might was apparently in town. Why Nezukai to hire number one hero is beyond me. He's a great hero, don't get me wrong, but that doesn't mean he's qualified to teach children. At least he won't start for another 2 years. He shook his head as he squinted against sunlight. He knew he should have brought his sunglasses with him. He was about to let Hisashi know he was on his way home when something caught his eye. Normally, it would be mist. Everyone else would have overlooked it. But he trained himself for years to spot hard-to-see silhouettes in the shadows. Compared to that, seeing a silhouette of someone on the roof of a tall building in broad daylight wasn't that difficult. His mind said to leave it alone, that it was probably just someone admiring the view, or trying to get a better look at the plume of smoke on the other side of town. But his gut told him something very different, and every pro worth their salt knew to trust their gut over their head. Shota's gut was never wrong. So Shota didn't hesitate to get inside the nearby apartment complex and roof jumping from there. He used captured weapon, thank God he was a paranoid bastard and took his equipment with him everywhere, to reach the roof of the building the person was on. They hadn't noticed his presence, which was a good thing. What he saw turned his blood to ice. It was a child, and he was standing on the wrong side of the railing, and was dangerously close to the edge. Shota knew that stance, he knew it intimately. This kid was going to jump. Life will go on. The death of a quirkless child will affect no one. He heard him mutter in a voice far too calm and detached for Shota's liking. He was about to call out, his hand already reaching towards the kid and the words on the tip of his tongue, but a sudden lump of fear and hesitation formed in his throat like a physical blockage. Was this how Hisashi felt? And in that moment of hesitation, the kid let go of the railing and fell forward. The pro hero's stomach dropped with the child, and before his logical mind could think, he found himself running forward. He vaulted over the railing with practiced ease and threw out his scarf with all his might. For a moment, his heart stopped and he feared he was too late. In his mind's eye, he saw the child become a red stain on the pavement below them. His hand clenched the railing, turning his knuckles white. His heart pounded in his ears. When he felt the weight on the other end of the captured weapon, he nearly cried in relief. He'd caught the kid. He didn't want to know how many gray hairs this would give him. He didn't care. As long as that kid was safe, that's what mattered to him. With a mighty heave, he lifted himself and the kid back over the edge of the railing until they were safely on the rooftop again. The kid was unconscious and Shota found himself trembling slightly. It wasn't often that a pro found himself in this kind of situation. They were trained to look out for signs of suicidal thoughts and behaviors to prevent it from getting to this point. But most heroes never had to stop them in mid-attempt. That was due to something the police handled anyways, the during and the aftermath. Shota himself had been lucky to have never even seen someone make an attempt like this before. He resolutely shoved memories of his own childhood suicide attempt out of his mind. The kid groaned and blinked, confused. Turned his gaze toward Shota, who kept his scarf securely around the boy, partially to keep him from running off again, and partially to add some kind of cushioning from the hard surface of the roof. Eraserhead? Shota startled. People didn't recognize him. That was one of the perks of being an underground hero. Even most cops didn't recognize him, which was nothing short of annoying when he had to whip his hero license several times per shift. Yes, I'm a real pro hero. No, I'm not some homeless bum wasting your time. Yes, I know you have to contact higher up. Just call Detective Tsukuuchi and get this over with. I've got better things to do with my time. For now, though, Shota will ignore that little detail. There are more important things in his identity right now. Yeah, how are you feeling, kid? Shota winced internally. Maybe not the best question to ask, but it was already done. Boy gave a dry laugh. Figures. I thought it would be a commotion across town. I can't even die right. Why do you want to die? He knew it was an insensitive question, but he also knew the kid probably didn't want to beat around the bush either. Why did you save me? He countered. I couldn't let a kid die. You don't even know me. He paused in a quiet tone. I have nothing to live for, anyways. Surely there's someone waiting for you somewhere. Friends? Family? My mother's the only person who gives a damn about me, but you can't live for just one person. Nobody cares about a quirkless kid. I have no future in this world. My dreams. He halted his speech as he brought his arm to rest over his eyes. The kid didn't even bother to sit up as tears streamed down his cheeks. Dreams? Shota nudged gently, starting to the thoughts. Meaningless now, even a pro said it. It's not even a pipe dream anymore. Shota didn't bother by the bitter smile the boy wore. Though he didn't know the kid, just didn't look right on him. A pro? You'll trust the word of one hero as the word of us all? That's illogical. He was somewhat offended. The kid scoffed. Is it? When the number one himself says there's no way a quirkless reject can become a hero, then one is inclined to believe him. Is that your dream, to become a hero? Joe smiled softly, though the kid couldn't see him. Internally, he cursed All Might. How could the man possibly be so thick, so close-minded? Joe himself fought quirkless, though he never really thought of it that way, and he was a pro. A great deal of his respect for the man vanished in that moment. He crushed the child's dream and left him alone on a rooftop to die. I know what you're going to say. Laugh. Tell me it's impossible. I already know. His hand clenched to a fist. But it's all I've ever wanted. I just want to help people. Save them, make them feel safe. It isn't my fault that I was born so useless. I didn't ask for this. The faint smell of iron reached to his nose, and he glanced at the clenched fist to find small droplets of red. Nobody is born useless, Shota spoke firmly, and the kid lifted his arm, looking at him in disbelief. Just as nobody is born equal, nobody is born useless. Everyone is born at a different starting line. Some people have to work harder than others, while the lucky few get carried to the top. His eye locked startlingly green eyes. If you work hard and push yourself, how was he going to say this? He wasn't giving words of comfort. That was Slashy's gig, not Shota's. Still, he couldn't just say nothing. He took a deep breath. Three things make the core of a hero: heart, determination, resourcefulness. Not quirks. Not money or connections or any of that bullshit. If you truly want this, if you push yourself past your limits, then yes, even without a quirk, you can become a hero. The kid stared at him in shock, as if he'd suddenly broken the space-time continuum by sneezing. For a moment, Shota worried the kid wouldn't believe the scenario's words. Then, abruptly, a bright flame flared to life in the eyes of the boy, making his green orb shine like great viridian diamonds. Tears flowed down his cheek as he finally sat up and pulled his knees to his chest and cried. In a moment of empathy, Shota wrapped an arm around the kid's shoulders. He leaned into the hero, clutching his shirt like a lifeline as he sobbed. Each sob chipped away at the pro's heart. He could relate to the kid. He really could. He'd been bullied and ostracized growing up for his ability to remove people's God-given gifts. He knew how cruel people could be to someone beyond the norm, but even the quirkless had it worse than he ever had. Without disturbing the child, he sent a brief text to Lashy, telling him he'd be late and not to worry, and then sent a second text as an afterthought, stating that he hadn't run into any villains or anything. He mentally went when he saw two missed calls and a dozen texts from his worried husband. Hopefully, his own hastily typed reply would put him at ease. After the better part of an hour, the kid calmed down. I'm sorry. There's nothing to apologize for. You're a pro, and it just wastes so much of your time. The kid shook his head violently and showed a side. Yes, I'm a pro. But do you know why I'm a pro? The kid blinked up in confusion. To help people? If only we were that straightforward. You're too pure, kid. Exactly. To help people. Like you. What's your name, kid? Midoriya Izuku. Who blushed red, embarrassed having forgotten to introduce himself. Illogical. You were in the middle of a mental emotional breakdown. You weren't in a state of mind for an introduction. I just started studying in middle school. Still so young. I need to know. Are you safe at home? Good news statistic. Neither of the quirks kids usually abused at home if not dumped off at orphanage tossed out on the street. Hi, my mother is very kind. She tries best to make me happy. Paralyzed the answer. Grace, do you really think that I could be a hero? He looked hesitantly into his eyes and should have fought the urge to sigh. I meant what I said, Midoriya. You can become a hero. All it takes is hard work and dedication. It's dangerous, but you choose your own path in life. You may not be able to become a limelight hero, but you can still become a hero. Yoda sat back against the wall as he gazed at the clouds for a moment. The commotion across town had died down, and he was sure it was resolved by now. People told me I couldn't become a hero either. He didn't know why he was telling Joy of this. He says a kid, sure, but Shota wasn't one to openly admit anything personal. Really? Bright green eyes blinked in shock. Every pro has their own story. You asked me why I saved you? A small smile flowed across his face. I once almost did exactly what you did, but a complete stranger asked me not to. Said that if I could live long enough to save just one person, even if that person was myself, that was enough. He looked over the boy to find him staring at him in awe. That same star-eyed look that most kids looked at other heroes. It made him uncomfortable, but he'd be damned if he showed it. Is that why you're an underground hero? So you can help people where it matters when the limelight heroes are off duty? BD doesn't care about scumbags that probably are always at 2 in the morning, Ghost Scout, but they hurt more people than the villains that rampage during the day. I became a hero to help people, not because I want admiration or recognition. They went quiet for a long moment. Midori fell into a deep contemplative silence as Shota took a moment to relax into the last rays of sunlight. In another world, that would have been the moment that All Might had amended his earlier words and told Mijo that he could be a hero, that he was worthy of inheriting his quirk, and that he would train him as his successor. It would have marked the start of a grand new chapter in Midoriya's life, one with a quirk and a sea of friends and supporters. A life in the golden light of limelight heroes and flashy quirks. But in this world, in this reality, the boy found the confidence in himself to look over at the hero that had saved him. Eraserhead. Shota looked over at the child whose eyes shined with fierce determination. He found himself curious. Midoriya lowered himself into a kneeling bow, touching his forehead to the ground. Please train me to become an underground hero. Shota stared in shock. Normally, he'd say no. He was a teacher, and a hero, and a husband, and had several other obligations, and cats. But he found himself unusually attached to this green-eyed, green-haired child. He'd seen nothing truly impressive about the boy, nothing worthwhile in training, but there was something about him. Something that excited Shota as a teacher, as a mentor. And yet, could he really be considering this? Of course, the answer had to be no. But why does it have to be no? He'd expelled most of his homeroom class this year, and the ones left behind were surprisingly mature, including that Mirio kid. He had plenty of free time, and while this kid was still in junior high, the hidden potential of this child seemed to call out to him. A quirkless kid aspiring to become an underground hero. The boy is fidgeting. He probably smelled the embarrassment and shame and just went rolling off the boy. He'd taken a little too long, it would seem. The kid assumed he declined. Get up, he said, getting to his feet and dusting off his knees. The kid heaved a heavy sigh and stood. You'll meet me at this address every day after school. We start tomorrow. He scribbled down the address of an abandoned warehouse that Soda had used for training whenever he wasn't on UA campus. Midoriya stared at him, slack-jawed. You mean, don't make me regret this decision. As it just so happens, I've got some free time this year. If you can't keep up or I feel that you're slacking off, I won't hesitate to stop your training. Midoriya bowed exuberantly, grinning with a smile so bright that Fiona really wished he had bought his sunglasses on his stupid shopping trip. Now let's get you home. Your mother must be worried, and I still need her permission for this. Fiona sighed, pinching Midoriya's nose. Masashi and Nemori are never going to let me live this down. But as he watched the kid grab his backpack and slip his shoes back on, he couldn't find any trace of regret in this decision. Fiona's gut was never wrong. This kid's going to be a hero one day. He smiled. Okay. I forgot to change this to chapter by chapter. So let's do that. And we're going to pop over to chapter 2. But see, I was about to continue with chapter 2 Hope without even realizing. And then I noticed the big chapter 2. And I was like, wait, we're still on entire work. Okay. I'm going to stop the timer because it is going to hit the 1 hour mark, and we're not going to actually stop. We're going to finish chapter 2 and chapter 3 of Swan Dive. And then we're going to most probably end stream after that. Chapter 2 Hope. Izuku didn't know what to think. He'd stepped off that edge ready to die. He was ready. He was going to finally end all the pain and suffering he endured his entire life. There was nothing more to live for. Except there was. All of a sudden, like a dream, the underground pro hero Eraserhead, a guy who was so unknown and good at hiding his tracks that he was practically an urban legend, saved him. In more ways than one. He not only told Midoriya that, yes, you can become a hero, but was willing to train him to become one. He couldn't think of anyone better. Eraser's fighting style was quirkless. His quirk allowed him to even the playing field about 75% of the time. The other 25%, he was no better off than a quirkless guy going up against any other villain. But he was still a pro hero. If Eraserhead could do it, then so could Izuku. He had a bounce in his step, a fire burning in his veins that hadn't been there for a very long time. He and Eraserhead didn't speak on the way back to his house. He knew he was coming back very late, and his mother was probably worried sick. Izuku's phone was damaged in the slime villain incident, and he had no way of knowing how many dozens of times his mother tried to contact him. He felt a slight flush of shame when he led Eraserhead up the stairs of the cheap, shabby apartment complex. He idly knew the pro hero didn't really look at a place in the rougher area of town. He kind of looks homeless himself. Mom, I'm home, he called out, opening the door. Izuku! His mother ran over and gave him a massive hug filled with tears and cries. I was so worried you wouldn't answer your phone and you didn't come home before dark. What if something happened? He was, his sudden awareness of the weight of the suicide note in his backpack made him shift awkwardly. His face was bright red when he remembered the pro hero was watching his mother smother him like a child. Mom, I'm fine, really. Besides, we've got a guest. Oh, I'm so sorry. He shifted uncomfortably. Sorry to intrude. My name is Eraserhead and I'm a pro hero. He held his hero license as proof, likely used to people not believing. A hero? What happened? Is my little Zook okay? He didn't get himself in any trouble, did he? Some reprimanding glare. He's fine, and he's not in trouble. I didn't want him walking home alone at night. Eraser explained as his mother invited the hero inside. Zook relaxed. At least he won't tell her. In fact, we got talking a bit. Three sat around the kitchen table and sipped with tea, coffee in the hero's case, that his mother has made. Izuku was about to joke with how surreal and comical the scene was. A quirkless child, a single mother, and an underground pro hero sitting around a kitchen table. His kitchen table. It kind of sounds like the intro to a bad joke. Oh, well, I must thank you for bringing my son home. Inko smiled. Actually, he was telling me about his dream of being a hero. Eraser tested the waters, looking for any sign of negative response. When his mother just sighed somewhat sadly, he took those means to continue. I'm aware that he doesn't have a quirk, but I see potential in him. Will you let me train your son to be a hero? His mother startled badly, nearly spilling her tea. Whatever she'd been expecting, this was not it. She blinked owlishly at the man before her and gaped. You mean, I believe he has what it takes to be a pro, but he can't without the right training. Training I can provide him. I can train him for the 22 months leading up to the UA entrance exams, but I need parental permission. Reza leaned on his elbows, leaving him a serious expression. Of course, I understand if you don't want him to go into this field. It's a very dangerous line of work, especially someone who fights quirkless. Izuku fidgeted. He wanted this. He wanted this more than anything he'd ever wanted his whole life. Maybe, with his training and his hard work, he could prove to the world that quirkless wasn't useless. He could prove it to himself. His mother looked to him. He could see her waver. He pleaded, begged with all he had in his eyes to let him go. For a moment, he almost had her. Before her eyes hardened, Izuku sighed. He knew he'd lost. At this point, he felt somehow twice as bad when All Might had crushed his dreams earlier that day. He'd finally had someone that believed in him, and his own mother denied him that. What, because he was quirkless? Oh, how he'd grown to loathe that word. Because I wasn't even born with a weak or useless quirk. Even something as simple as black sclera or blue skin, I would have been treated so much better than this. I hate it. I hate being quirkless. Bakugo is right. I just want to dive and pray. I expect you to protect my son. Ikito had whipped up in shock, startled of steadily darkening thoughts. You mean his mouth opened and closed like a fish as he gave his mother, who gave him a gentle smile. I know this is what you truly want, Izuku. What kind of mother would I be if I couldn't even let my son chase his own dreams? Then looked at Eraserhead. I give you my permission. Thank you, Eraserhead bowed. I'll leave my contact information here with you, should you need to reach me for whatever reason. I'll start training him tomorrow after he gets out of school. After a moment to talk between the two that could hardly register, Eraserhead left, with the stern reminder for him to be on time. He remained in a state of shock for the rest of the night. couldn't believe it. It was like all the good luck that had been him his entire life suddenly melded together for this one moment of astonishingly amazing good luck. To meet a racerhead, to be trained by a racerhead, to be a hero, and oh my fucking god, this could not be happening to me. I must be dreaming. This entire thing is just in my imagination. I really did jump and I totally died, and this is heaven, and I just wish that I could have more cuts done in heaven because I'm sore as fuck, and that's not fair. Fair that you have to be sore in heaven because you're already technically dead. Oh, what's the point? And he comes to mentally and took a very deep breath. Damn it, had he been muttering again? Tomorrow will be his first day of hero training with an actual hero. This was almost certain he'd be too excited to sleep. The moment his head hit the pillow, he was out like a light. The smile never once left his face. Showed aside, glad he was able to get Inko's permission. He was equally relieved to know that she really did love her son. He'd been concerned, despite Moriarty's reassurance that his mother was not abusive. No sign of the father, though. He shook his head. Things would reveal themselves in due time. For now, though, he was going to go home, feed his cats, and snuggle with his husband. With a sigh, he slid the bag grocery on his left arm and fished out his house key. Yoda! Yoda dodged the welcome home hug with practically his clothes over behind his foot. Let me sit down the groceries before you tackle me, you overgrown cockatoo. He let an obnoxious blonde. You're home so late, though. It's already 9 o'clock. Give me a moment and I'll explain everything, he growled out, dumping the bag unceremoniously onto the counter. Mira, his light gray tabby, hopped on the countertop with a curious meow. He nuzzled Shota's hand and he smiled softly at her. Giving into his inner Neko lover, he scooped the little darling into his arm as he collapsed back in the couch in the living room. His wife sat down beside him, looping an arm around his shoulders. So, what took you so long? I found a kid about to jump off the side of a building, Shota breathed. It still felt so unreal. He felt his wife sitting beside him, his expression much more serious. Is he okay? He's alive. I caught him mid-jump. Shota leaned in the comforting warmth beside him. I don't even know how the hell you managed to call out to me that day. I couldn't even utter a sound when I saw him there. I was so scared, and I didn't even know the kid. I didn't know you either at the time, Kazash pointed out. What happened that made a kid want to jump? He's quirkless. A quirkless child in this generation? He blinked. Shota couldn't blame him. They were so rare these days. Sure, about 20% of the human population was quirkless, but almost all of these people were either adults or elderly. To be born quirkless in this generation, it was probably a less than a 1% probability. He wanted to be a hero his whole life, but not one person thought he could do it. Not his mother, not his friends. I don't think he even has friends, to be honest. Shota shook his head. He had a breakdown when I told him he could be a hero. So, he'd apparently met All Might earlier today. The ass said the same thing as everyone else. I think it broke something in him. Even All Might said no? His eyes go at the table, showed into the feeling, and left him alone on a rooftop. Any respect I'd had for the man is now zilch. The blonde shook his head in disgust. But you seem rather fond of this kid. That's unlike you. There's something about him, Zachi. Some kind of potential. I can feel it. I know this kid's been a great hero one day. He smiled softly and snorted in amusement. That's something coming from the guy who expels his 1A heroics class every year. I've only expelled the entire class once in my teaching career, thank you. Twice. You did it when you first got hired. Zachi pointed out dryly. Okay, fine. To be fair, though, they refused to listen to me as a teacher. So this kid's got potential. Wonder how he'll fare in the exam. He's only a second year right now. We've got time. I'll make sure he'll have the skills he needs to pass. Dakota promised. His eyes choked in his spit. Wait a sec, babe. Are you telling me that you're gonna train him? His eyes were wide with disbelief. Yeah, it's not like I've got other things to do in my spare time, and what's with that look? You, Mr. I don't want to teach children. Mr. I'll expel entire heroic class without second thought. You agreed to train a random kid personally. He stared. And not even get paid for it? He tacks on the end and does a quiet him mutter. Shota rolled his eyes, leaving to his husband to be overly dramatic. Yes, Azashi, I did. Like I said, I see potential in this kid. My gut says he'll go on to do great things. Plus, he's interested in going into underground heroics. Why shouldn't I teach him? I'm not saying don't. I'm just absolutely shocked you agreed to it in the first place. I've got to meet the little listener. His name is Midoriya Izuku. He's a second year in junior high and will be applying to UA Hero course in 2 years. Shota leaned into his husband. Now be a good pillow and stop moving around. I'm tired. You're always tired. All the more reason to take a nap. Well, you took more than naps. Honestly, get a full night's sleep sometime, wouldn't you? The vice side, shaking his head fondly. Ran his fingers to Shota's soft hair, causing said man to relax. For a moment, his optimistic mirrors purring for Shota, making him startled. These really are like a cat. He leaned into a gentle kiss on Shota's cheek. Sleep well, Sho. I look forward to meeting your new student. Oh, mate. Shota felt like he was forgetting something important. He double checked the groceries 3 times and couldn't figure it out. Maybe it was something to do with Midoriya? Oh, he hadn't given Midoriya contact information. Other than dropping the kid's house, he had no way to contact the boy. And there was no way for the kid to get in contact with him. Wait, no, he gave the kid's mother his number. So if that wasn't it, what was it? He then abruptly realized that he'd written down the address of the warehouse as coordinates rather than a normal address. And usually, civilians, especially kids, wouldn't know what to make of them. Whoops. He shook his head. If the kid didn't show on time, he'd blame the coordinates just this once. Joe would never admit how impressed he was when the kid showed up the next day on time, coordinates in hand. All right. I'm pretty sure that's the last chapter that actually needs a trigger warning, but it's been a hot minute since I've actually read the story. So we got one more chapter, and then we're going to be done. Also, I'm going to go ahead and close Steam. All right. Chapter 3 Training. Izuku went through the next school day with a nervous energy. The end of the day couldn't come fast enough, and he found it difficult to pay attention in class. Even Kakan's usual taunts and bullying couldn't shake the warm, fuzzy feeling that settled in his chest and the sheer excitement that vibrated his body like a sugar high. Sure, he walked away from school with a few more burns and bruises that day, but it was nothing he couldn't handle. The moment the bell rang, his already packed backpack was over his shoulder and he was out the door. He distantly heard Captain Grob come back, but he didn't register it. He knew he'd pay for it tomorrow, but for now, he rushed off to where a little golden paper of joy told him to go. When he woke in that morning, he was sure it had been some kind of dream. He was depressed and anxious. He stuffed his hand into his pocket as he got dressed and felt the paper that Eraser had given him with the coordinates of a location. And he couldn't help but notice that Eraser had him coordinates rather than address. Izuku knew it wasn't a common skill for civilians to be able to read them, and he counted himself lucky for taking time to learn how to do so. Maybe it was some kind of test. It was not a test. He came upon an old abandoned warehouse 5 minutes early. Is this right? He double checked the paper. Maybe that 4 was a 9 after all. Good, you're on time. The voice made him jump and spin around, but the hero didn't seem to react to just really falling aside. You can read coordinates. Zuko swore he looked impressed, but immediately banished the thought. Hi, I thought it would be a useful skill, so I learned it years ago. Eraser had raised his eyebrow before he spoke. My name is Aizawa Shota. From this point on, only call me Aizawa Sensei, since we'll most be in a civilian setting. I don't want you to go on yelling my hero name. Izuku stated with a yawn. He held a cup of to-go coffee and looked absolutely exhausted. Maybe that's just how he always looked. Hi, Aizawa Sensei. Izuku grinned, excited his personal number one hero trusted him with his civilian name. Good. We'll start with the basic physical sense, see where you're at and what I've got to work with. Pulled out a clipboard from his shoulder bag and flicked his pen. Izuku nodded, determined to prove himself somehow to his teacher. Shota was impressed. No, the kid was also nothing out of the ordinary, but his determination and thirst to prove himself were unreal. He could definitely work with that. Usually, when teaching his first year classes at UA, he'll pull out this very test and let them use their quirks. He'll then light a fire under them by threatening expulsion, which the smart ones always take seriously. What he's looking for isn't necessarily physical results off the bat, though he'd still write them down. It'd be logical to expect such things from kids who never had the opportunity to let loose their quirks before. No, what Shota was always looked for was that tiny seed of ingenuity and that well of determination, that drive to do whatever it takes to survive when your back is against the wall. And Midoriya had that in spades. Those physical results nothing out of ordinary. He purposely hadn't threatened expulsion or anything of the sort. Even so, his newest students seemed to take everything much more seriously than his first years did. He found himself grinning. This kid doesn't need a quirk. Perhaps his language has driven him to do more and try harder than anyone else. Sir? Midoriya smiled out of fear. Right. His smiles were scary. Yes, Midoriya, he returned to his default "I'm exhausted, give me my fucking coffee" expression before taking a sip of his coffee, which he now realized was gone. Never mind. Your results are average, but like I said, you got potential. We'll work on getting you into shape and getting that stamina up. After we train up your body a bit, I'll start teaching you how to fight. He put his clipboard away after making a couple more notes. Tonight, he'd make training registers, but for now, well, he fought off the twitch of his lips. Izuku collapsed into bed. His first training since I was nerve-wracking. The man had also insisted on escorting Izuku home, not taking a chance of something happening since the training didn't end until after dark. Izuku felt a warm, fuzzy feeling at that. He wasn't used to anyone other than his mother worrying about his well-being. So the fact that his personal favorite hero was concerned made him feel special. Of course, his mother was quick to sit Aizawa Sensei down with a cup of coffee and insist the man stay for dinner. He chuckled in memory of Sensei's bewildered face. His mother fussed over how he needed to eat more. In short, the first day was a success, and Izuku was sore but excited for the second day of training. Day 2 of training introduced Izuku to his workout routine, which Aizawa Sensei told Izuku to follow without deviation in every aspect of his life. He made sure to let Izuku know that if he added more work or skeeved off, if he had to do that, then he'd stop training him. While he was disciplined, he couldn't add more. He trusted Sensei to know what he was doing. It wasn't until the end of their first week that he realized that Aizawa Sensei was becoming increasingly suspicious of bruises and burns. He didn't point to ask about it, but he eyed them a little too long for Izuku's comfort. Midoriya, as our sensei started, is packed up to head back to his house. It became routine for his mother to fix them both a meal after their training. Here, it'll help with the burns. He has salt double cream, as we stared dumbfounded. If things continue or get worse, let me know. Believe it or not, I can help, but you need to reach out first. Izuku stared at him. Thank you. He smiled softly. I'm not used to people caring. Well, you better get used to it, kid. As I Sensei's eyes softened, Izuku found that he was slowly starting to learn how to read his mentor. He grinned as I saw ruffled his hair. It was almost absent-mindedly, like he hadn't even thought about it, but it made Izuku's heart feel like it was going to burst with joy. This is what a father feels like. He shook the thoughts from his head. No. He's your teacher, not your dad. Still, the smile didn't leave his lips throughout the entire night. I think think vaguely I remember the direction that the story goes in. Um, you know what? I'm not going to say anything more. That was chapter 3 of Swan Dive. We're going back to the streamer wheels. Okay. We've now been live for almost 4 hours. I'm going to spin the wheel one more time. Never mind, I'm not going to do that. Because my stomach just protested because it craves food. It craves nutrition. I have not eaten yet. And it is 10:20 at night. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you so much for coming to Anything Can Happen Thursday. And anything did indeed happen. Many things happened. We did a lot more work on the Minecraft mod than I thought we were going to get done. No, it wasn't a lot, but it was enough. I need to fix the red sandstone texture to be more orangey. Other than that, uh, we're almost done with the mod, actually. Which is wild to think about that we're almost done with. Oh my goodness. I'm about to finish my first Minecraft mod. Anyways, so we did that. We played an indie game, which was originally going to be Fever Meme, but apparently my computer is not strong enough for Fever Meme. And so we played Plants vs. Zombies instead. Then we spun the wheel and it landed on fanfiction. And you guys got a special, well, not a special sneak peek, but a sneak peek as to what tomorrow's stream is going to basically look like. Because tomorrow is Fanfiction Friday, where we read fanfiction. And what we're going to do is. Okay, here's what's going to happen. If it lands on either Deku or Swan Dive, then we're going to continue on with those. And you know what? Yeah. Okay, so if it lands on either Deku or Swan Dive, we're going to continue with those. Otherwise, whatever it lands on is what we're going to do for the basically entire stream. Also, I'm looking at the wheel again, and with the exception of Illuminous, Mike's New Ghostly Family, and Unburied, as well as the chat request, or spin again. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 out of the 9 are not My Hero Academia stories. 5 of them are My Hero Academia, and in fact, 2 of them are written by the same person. Viridian and Deku are both written by Clouds. Also, Viridian has a similar but not as serious Um, Trigger warning for Swan Dive, very similar. I say not as serious because Swan Dive, it actually happens and has to be aborted mid occurrence. Viridian pretty handedly is, it's just a lot. Swan Dive doesn't necessarily linger on it. Viridian really lingers on Izuku's mental state in the early chapters. And at some level, it kind of circles back to that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed Anything Can Happen Thursday. And I will see you all tomorrow after work for Fanfiction Friday. So look forward to that. I'm going to keep this window as it is. And I'm going to go ahead and say thanks for watching. And I hope you guys have a wonderful night. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the next stream of debut week. That's going to be debut week, day 5. Fanfiction Friday. Have a good night, everyone.